Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be covering the box method or area model for multiplication. Um, this is a new way to multiply numbers as opposed to what we may have learned back when we were in school. But that's okay. A lot of my kids find this easier and it works with smaller numbers, but I wouldn't recommend doing this with numbers with more than 3 digits in them. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So, what is the box method? Again, it's a non traditional way to multiply numbers. And don't let that freak you out. Non traditional is just a different way, but I'm going to go through the steps to where hopefully this can be a little easier and help your kids. So, the steps for the box method, the first step is to break your numbers down into expanded form. Following that, you will place your numbers either on the column or top row of your box. You can kind of switch those because multiplication is an operation that has the commutative property, so you can switch it, unlike subtraction and division. But the next step is for step 3, which is put in your zeros, and I'm going to show you what that means. Step 4 is multiply your column times your row. And step 5, add together your partial products to find your whole product. So your partial products, again, are just going to be the products you get from multiplying your numbers that you put inside your boxes. And I know this sounds like it's a lot, but I promise you, it really isn't that bad whenever we get on the pattern. So let's go ahead and start with a 2-digit by 2-digit number. We have 57 and 68. Well, the first thing I need to do is break these down into expanded form, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Expanded form means you're just breaking down the number by how many are in its place value. So I'll show you that 57 is going to turn into 50 plus 7, and 68 is going to turn into 60 plus 8. Now we draw our box. And since it's a 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication problem, I need to have 4 boxes because I have 4 numbers. Now it's very important that I make sure that I'm staying consistent throughout. So I'm going to put my 50 over here, my 7 over here, so it's still 57. And down here I'm going to have 60 and 8. Now the next step is to find our partial products. And finding the partial products a little easier. It's all using like basic multiplication to help us do this. But before we multiply, we're just going to go ahead and count our zeros. We always take the row times the column. So in this row I have 60, and I'm multiplying that times 50. Well, I don't actually need to write that out and do it. I just count how many zeros are in both the numbers. Whenever I do that, I see I have 1 0 here, a 1 0 here. So I need to put down 2 zeros. And then I just do 6 times 5, which we know from our multiplication facts is 30. Now I stay in the same row and go to the next column for this box. Again, I count how many zeros are shared between the 60 and the 7. Let me go ahead and correct that 7 to make it a little easier to see. I have 1 0, and then I just do 6 times 7, which is 42. So I have a partial product of 420. Now I move down here, and again I'm taking the row times the column, so I'm doing 8 times 50, shares 1 0. 8 times 5 is 40. Move on to my last box. 8 times 7, which is 56. Now I can just add it all together. I have 3,000 plus 420 plus 400 plus 56. The sum of this column is going to be 6. My sum of this column, 7. My sum of my hundreds column is 8. My sum of my 1,000 columns is 3. So my product for 57 times 68 is 3,876. Now let's move to a smaller problem that you can actually still do the box method with. Again, I need to break it down into expanded form, so that's going to be 10 plus 5, and 3 is already in its most basic form, so it's going to stay 3. Now, I need to count how many columns I'm going to need, or rows, either one, because again, multiplication is commutative. So I've got a 10 and a 5. I'm going to break those down. And then just 3. So that's all I really need to set up this problem. And again, I'm going to follow through, count my zeros. 3. I have 1 0, so I'm going to put that down. Then do 3 times 1 to get 3. Stay with my row times my column. I've got 5 times 3, which is 15. I found all my partial products, so I just add 30 and 15. And whenever I do that, I get 45. The last one I want to cover is a little bit of a bigger problem, but it will still work. You can actually do box method with as big of a number as you want. It's just going to be a lot of boxes. But this is kind of where I would stop doing the box method and start moving to standard algorithm when you get numbers this big. But let's go ahead and break it down. So I have 100 plus 40 plus 1. And then I have 30 plus 2. I need to break it down. Again, I'm going to just leave it on top for it to be convenient. So I have 100, 40, and 1. And then I'm going to have 30 and 2. And now we can start finding our partial products. Count my zeros. I have 1, 2, 3 zeros in between 30 and 100. Now I just do 3 times 1 to get 3,000. I stay with the same row times the next column. I've got 2 zeros. Then I do 4 times 3, which is 12. Stay in my same row. Do 30 times 1. We don't really need to count the zeros because we know anything times 1 will always be that number. So that's going to be 30. Again, I know that 2 times 100 is 200 just from being able to count by hundreds. But I could still do the multiplication if I needed to. But 2s are kind of ones that are easy to memorize. But for the next one, I'm going to do 2 times 40. I have 1 0. 2 times 4 is 8. And lastly, stay in the same row times the next column. I have 2 times 1, which is 2. Now I add all of these together. So I have 3,000 plus 1,200 plus 30 plus 200 plus 80 plus 2. And see, it's getting a little bigger and a little harder. But what's really important to remember is to keep all your place values lined up. So the sum of my ones column is going to be 2. Sum of my 10 column is 11, so I need to regroup. I have 2 plus 2, which is 4, plus 1 is 5, and then 3 plus 1 is 4. So my product should be 4,512. And Bam. Now you kind of know the box method, and that's all there really is to it. I will be going over standard algorithm soon, but that is all you need to know for now. Thank you and have a great day.